Welcome to vpod.ai and welcome to the deep dive. Ever feel like you're drowning in nutrition advice, especially when people start talking about macros? Well, today we're going to cut through all that noise. We want to give you a clear path to really understanding how protein, carbs, and fats actually fuel your body, and maybe figure out if tracking them is, the right move for your goals. We're really looking forward to digging into this with you. But before we dive in, just a quick word from our sponsor. This deep dive is proudly sponsored by Stonefly, your trusted solution provider and advisor in enterprise storage, backup disaster recovery, hyper-converged VMware, Hyper-V, Proxmox cluster, AI servers, SA365, a turnkey security appliance, public and private cloud. You can find out more at stonefly.com. All right, let's unpack this. Think about your body, right? It's like this incredibly complex high-performance engine, and to run its best, it needs the right fuel and the right mix. So today we're going to dive into what those main fuel sources, macronutrients, actually are, how your body uses them, some common mistakes people make when they try tracking them, and really figure out if this whole approach makes sense for you.
Exactly. And it's fascinating, isn't it, how sometimes these, seemingly simple ideas get really complicated in practice. Our goal today is just to bring some clarity. We'll pull together different views on this, connect the dots between, how your body actually processes food and some practical ways to manage what you eat, all while encouraging some critical thinking. It's about empowering you with the knowledge.
Okay, so let's start right at the beginning. When nutrition folks talk about macros, what I'm saying, what exactly are they talking about? And how is that different from, say, micronutrients?
Great place to start. Yeah, macros is just the short version of macronutrients. These are the main nutrients your body needs in, large amounts. We're talking grams here. They're mainly for energy, but also growth, repair, all that essential stuff. They're different from micronutrients, think vitamins, minerals, which your body absolutely needs, but in much, much smaller quantities, like milligrams or even micrograms.
Got it. So macros are the big guys, the main fuel. What are these essential components then, and what do they actually do inside us?
All right, so there are three main ones. First up is protein. Your body breaks protein down into amino acids. Think of these as the literal building blocks for your body. They're essential for building and repairing everything: muscles, bones, hair, skin, nails, you name it. Plus, they're key for making enzymes, hormones, transporting oxygen, and keeping your immune system strong. And here's something interesting. Protein has a higher thermic effect.
Thermic effect? What's that?
It basically means your body actually burns more calories just digesting and processing protein compared to carbs or fats, which is a big reason why high-protein diets often feel more filling. Your body's working harder.
Ah, okay. That makes sense. So you feel fuller, longer. Where do we find protein mostly?
Good sources are things like meats, poultry, fish, dairy products, eggs, but also plant sources like lentils, beans, tofu, nuts, and seeds. Lots of options.
Okay, protein, the builder, and keeps you full. What about carbs? Carbohydrates get kind of a missed reputation these days.
They really do. But carbohydrates are actually your body's preferred #1 source of energy, especially for your brain and muscles during activity. They get broken down into glucose. That's the sugar your body uses for fuel right away, or stores a limited amount for later use. Now, there's a difference. You have complex carbs, think whole grains, starchy vegetables, beans. They provide more steady, sustained energy, like a slow-burning fuel. Then you have simple carbs, sugary drinks, candy, white bread, that kind of thing. They give you a quick burst of energy, but often lead to a crash later.
Right, the sugar rush and crash. I know that one. So carbs are the main energy source. What about the third macro, fats? People used to be terrified of fat.
Yeah, the whole low-fat craze really did a number on perception. But fats are absolutely essential. They're actually the most concentrated energy source we have. They provide more than half of the body's energy needs, especially when you're resting or doing lower intensity activity. When you eat fats, they're broken down into fatty acids. And these are vital for tons of things: absorbing certain vitamins, producing hormones, regulating body temperature, protecting your organs. Even brain development relies heavily on fats. So the key isn't avoiding fat. It's choosing the right kinds of fats.
Like avocados, nuts, olive oil.
Exactly, those healthy fats. Also fatty fish like salmon.
Yeah.
Butter, cheese, fatty meats also contain fats, of course. It's about balance and source quality.
This is great. So protein, carbs, fats, the big three. Anything else that sometimes gets mentioned but isn't quite a macro?
Good question. Yeah, fiber and alcohol often come up. Fiber is technically a type of carbohydrate, but our bodies don't really digest it for energy. It's crucial for digestion and feeling full, though. Alcohol, it does provide calories about 7 per gram, but it's not essential for life like the others are, and your body processes it differently, almost like a toxin. So usually kept separate.
Okay, this is where it gets really cool for me. We know what they are now, but how does our body actually use this stuff once we eat it? Take us on that journey from like fork to fuel.
It's an amazing process, really, like a super efficient disassembly line. It starts right in your mouth. Chewing is the first step, mechanical breakdown, and even saliva has enzymes that start working on carbohydrates right away. Then it goes down to the stomach, where stomach acid and more enzymes continue the job, kind of churning it all together. But the small intestine, that's where most of the nutrient absorption really kicks into high gear.
Okay, so what happens with carbs there?
So for carbohydrates, the main goal is breaking them down into the simplest sugars, mostly glucose.
Right.
Special enzymes handle this. Once they're broken down into those single units, they get absorbed through the intestinal wall right into your bloodstream. From there, the glucose travels to your cells for immediate energy, or if you don't need it right away, it gets stored in your liver and muscles as glycogen for, maybe a few hours worth of energy. And if those stores are full and you still have extra glucose, then the body converts it to fat for long-term storage.
Ah, okay. So use it, store a bit, or store it long-term as fat. What about protein? How does that get broken down?
Protein digestion really ramps up in the stomach. The acid and an enzyme called pepsin start unwinding those complex protein structures into smaller pieces called peptides. Then in the small intestine, other powerful enzymes chop those peptides down further into individual amino acids. And those amino acids are what get absorbed into the bloodstream. They're ready to be used as those building blocks we talked about for muscle repair, making hormones, enzymes, all that critical work.
Okay, amino acids absorbed. And fats. They seem like they'd be trickier being oily and all.
They are a bit different. Some initial breakdown starts earlier, but the main event for fat digestion is also in the small intestine. The key player here is bile, which is made by your liver and stored in your gallbladder. Bile acts like an emulsifier.
Like soap, kind of.
Exactly like soap breaking up grease. It breaks down large fat globules into tiny little droplets. This gives the fat-digesting enzymes, like pancreatic lipase, way more surface area to work on. They then break the fats down into free fatty acids and glycerol. These smaller components can then be absorbed through the intestinal wall. From there, they can be used for energy, used to make things like hormones, or stored in fat cells. And unlike our limited carb stores, our fat storage capacity is, well, virtually unlimited.
Wow. It really is an incredible system. You mentioned the thermic effect of food earlier, the TEEF. Can you expand on that a bit more now?
Absolutely. So the TEF is basically the energy cost of eating. Your body has to spend calories just to chew, digest, absorb, metabolize, and store the nutrients from your food. On average, it accounts for maybe 10% of your total daily calorie burn. It's like a little metabolic boost you get just from eating.
Okay, 10%, but you said it varies.
It does, significantly. And this is really interesting. Fats are the easiest to process.
Yeah.
They have a very low T, maybe 0 to 3%. So almost all your calories are available energy. Carbohydrates are in the middle, around 5 to 10% to PF. But protein is the clear winner here. It has a TAF of 20 to 30%.
20 to 30%, that's huge.
It is. It means if you eat 100 calories of pure protein, your body might actually use 20 or 30 of those calories just in the process of handling it. That's why 100 calories of protein doesn't quite have the same metabolic impact as 100 calories of fat or carbs. That high TEEF contributes to feeling full and can slightly boost your metabolism. So it really raises an important point, doesn't it? If your body handles these macros so differently, energetically speaking, how might that affect your food choices if you're trying to manage your weight or energy levels?
That's a fantastic question, and it leads us right into the practical side. A lot of people do track their macros for specific reasons. Why do they go through the effort, and how does someone actually figure out their targets and track them?
Right. People usually start tracking macros when they have a very specific goal in mind. It could be significant weight loss or maybe gaining muscle mass, like for bodybuilding. Or sometimes it's for health reasons, like someone with type 2 diabetes needing to carefully manage their carbohydrate intake. The idea is to move beyond just counting total calories and get more strategic about where those calories are coming from, balancing the protein, carbs, and fats to support that specific goal.
So it's more detailed than just calories in, calories out.
Exactly. It adds another layer of precision. So the process usually starts with step 1. Figuring out your total daily calorie needs. This isn't a one-size-fits-all number. It depends heavily on your age, sex, height, weight, how active you are, and crucially, what your goal is: lose weight, maintain, or gain weight. There are formulas and, maybe more easily, lots of online calculators that can give you a good starting estimate based on that info. They often use multipliers based on activity level.
Okay, like those body weight multipliers you mentioned earlier.
Precisely. For example, someone moderately active, maybe exercising 3-4 times a week, who wants to maintain their weight, might aim for their body weight in pounds times, say, 14 to 16. If they wanted to lose weight, maybe times 12 to 14. Those are just rough guidelines. Calculators give more personalized figures.
Right. So once you have that magic calorie number, what's next? How do you get to the grams of protein, carbs, and fat?
That's step 2. Calculate the grams for each macro based on percentages. You decide on a ratio that fits your goals. A really common starting point, kind of a balanced approach, is something like 40% of calories from carbs, 30% from protein, and 30% from fat. So let's use a 2,000 calorie target, just as an easy example.
Okay, 2,000 calories, 40-30-30 split.
Right. So carbs. 40% 2,000 is 800 calories. Since carbs have 4 calories per gram, you divide 800 by 4. That gives you 200 grams of carbs per day.
Okay, 200 grams carbs.
Then protein. 30% of 2,000 is 600 calories. Protein also has 4 calories per gram, so 600 divided by 4 is 150 grams of protein.
150 grams protein. Got it.
And finally, fats. 30% of 2,000 is also 600 calories. But fats have 9 calories per gram, so 600 divided by 9. That comes out to about 67 grams of fat. So for that 2,000 calorie 40-30-30 goal, the daily targets would be 200 gram carbs, 150 gram protein, and 67 GFAT.
Wow, okay. That breaks it down clearly. But I can see how, especially starting out, that feels like a lot of numbers to juggle every day, like managing a budget for your food.
It absolutely can feel like that at first, but think of it as a roadmap. It gives you structure. And it's worth noting the official dietary guidelines suggest much broader ranges like 45-65% carbs, 10-35% protein, 20-35% fats. So there's definitely room for personalization. As for how people track, many use apps. Things like Lucid My Macros, plus Simplifies, MyFitnessPal's, Fitbit are really common. They have huge food databases. Or, good old pen and paper works too. The key isn't hitting the numbers perfectly every single day, especially at the start. It's more about logging consistently, seeing your patterns, and making gradual adjustments. It's a skill. It gets easier.
That makes sense. Practice makes, well, maybe not perfect, but better. So tracking can give you amazing insights. But like any tool, you can use it wrong, right? What are some common mistakes people make when they start counting macros? Let's help people avoid those pitfalls.
Absolutely. Being aware of these is half the battle. There are definitely a few common traps. The first one I see a lot is sweating the small stuff, getting totally bogged down, trying to be perfect, tracking every tiny gram, every fractional calorie. If that level of detail stresses you out so much that you just quit, or you're perfect Monday to Friday but give up entirely on weekends, it kind of defeats the purpose. The goal is overall awareness and consistency over the long haul. Imperfect tracking done consistently is way, way better than perfect tracking done sporadically or not at all. Don't let perfection be the enemy of good.
Oh, I can relate to that. That perfectionism trap is real. Okay, what's another one?
Second, assuming nutrition labels are gospel, they're surprisingly not exact. Regulations allow for rounding. That's why you rarely see like 87 calories on a label. It'll be rounded to 90. And those 0-calorie drinks or sweeteners, they might have up to half a gram of carbs or 4 calories per serving and still be labeled 0.
Seriously? Wow.
Yeah. So don't drive yourself crazy if your tracked macros don't add up perfectly to the label's total calories. Focus on the overall targets. It's about the big picture, not tiny rounding discrepancies.
That's actually a huge relief. Okay, what else trips people up?
Okay, number 3. Getting caught up in tracking net carbs. Some people subtract fiber grams from total carbohydrate grams because fiber isn't really digested for energy. While the idea isn't totally wrong, it can introduce inaccuracies because of that same label rounding issue we just talked about. Sometimes the math just doesn't quite work out with the total calories listed. For most people, unless you have a specific reason, like managing diabetes under guidance, it's simpler and often more effective just to track total carbohydrates and focus on your overall calorie and macro goals. Just double-check your app settings aren't defaulting to net carbs if that's not what you intend.
Keep it simple. Track total carbs. Got it. So label issues, net carb confusion, and it sounds like the actual act of logging accurately is pretty crucial too.
Oh, absolutely. That leads right into number 4. Tracking inaccurately in general. This is a big one with several parts. First, eyeballing portions versus weighing them. We are notoriously bad at estimating portion sizes. That casual scoop of peanut butter, it's often double what a standard serving is. That medium apple could vary wildly. Using a food scale, at least initially, is incredibly eye-opening. Weighing things in grams or ounces gives you precision and really teaches you what actual portion sizes look like. I always challenge people. Weigh your usual cereal pour, then check the box. It can be shocking.
I'm almost afraid to try that. What else falls under inaccurate tracking?
Using generic entries in tracking apps. Typing in chicken breast is less accurate than finding a verified entry for, say, cooked, boneless, skinless chicken breast, or using the barcode scanner. Specificity matters. Also, tracking raw versus cooked weights. 4 ounces of raw chicken cooks down significantly, concentrating the protein per ounce. Same for rice drive versus cooked volume and weight are totally different. Log it as you weigh it, in the state you weigh it in. And finally, dining out. This is tough, no doubt. Do your best. Look for nutritional info online if available. If not, find the closest possible match in your app, a surrogate entry. Imperfect tracking is still better than throwing your hands up.
Okay, weigh food, be specific, track raw versus cooked, estimate when eating out. That's super helpful. What are the last couple of mistakes?
Number 5 is failing to plan ahead. You've probably heard the saying, fail to plan, plan to fail. It really applies here. You don't necessarily need to prep every single meal in boxes, but having even a rough idea of what you'll eat for the day removes so much decision fatigue. When you're tired and hungry, willpower is low. Planning helps you stay on track. A simple strategy is to plan your protein sources first for each meal, then build the carbs and fats around them.
Plan around protein. Smart. Okay, last one.
The last one, number 6, is sneaky. Ignoring the BLTs, the bites, licks, and tastes. That bite of your kid's mac and cheese, licking the peanut butter off the knife, the handful of nuts while cooking, it all adds up. These little untracked nibbles can easily contribute 100 or more calories without you realizing it.
Guilty as charged on the peanut butter knife lick.
We all do it. A useful trick is to try logging things before you eat them. It makes you pause and decide if you're truly hungry or just autopilot snacking. And if you do forget things during the day, take 5 minutes before bed to log everything you remember. Again, just do your best. Consistency over perfection. Really, the takeaway for avoiding pitfalls is be consistent, aim for accuracy, but don't obsess over perfection. Pick one thing to improve, maybe weighing your food for a week, and build from there. Tracking gets faster and more intuitive over time.
This is all incredibly insightful. We know what macros are, how they work, how to track them, what not to do, which brings us to the big question for you, the listener. Is counting macros actually the right approach for you? Does it really matter for everyone? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the answer is, it depends. There are definitely clear advantages. As we've discussed, it provides really detailed data. This can be incredibly useful for achieving very specific goals. Athletes fine-tuning performance, bodybuilders managing physique changes, people needing precise carb counts for medical reasons like type 2 diabetes. It can definitely lead to a more balanced intake compared to just vaguely counting calories. And the if it fits your macros, or IFYM approach, does offer flexibility. It allows you to include foods you enjoy without feeling totally restricted as long as they fit within your daily numbers.
That flexibility is a big draw for many people, I think. But what about the downsides? What are the things someone should really consider before jumping into macro tracking? Yeah, there are definitely downsides to weigh. First, for many people, it's just plain cumbersome and time-consuming. Measuring, weighing, logging, everything you eat takes significant effort and mental energy. And that IIFYM flexibility can be a double-edged sword. Sure, you can eat pizza if it fits, but if that uses up most of your fat and carb allowance for the day, you might be left with very little room for other nutrient-dense foods. It can also, paradoxically, lead you to ignore your body's natural hunger and fullness cues.
That's a really important point. Just because it fits the numbers doesn't mean it's the best choice nutritionally.
Exactly. Which brings us to, food quality still matters immensely. 100 calories from soda is not the same as 100 calories from broccoli, even if the macros somehow fit. Focusing only on numbers can lead people to neglect nutrient density, fiber, vitamins, minerals, all the stuff crucial for long-term health. You need quality sources. Also think about sustainability. For many, strict macro tracking is effective for a short-term goal, but it's often not something they can or want to do forever. It can lead to burnout. And perhaps most importantly, we need to consider the social and psychological impact. Constantly weighing and logging can take the joy out of eating, make social situations stressful, and potentially lead to anxiety, guilt, or even obsessive thoughts and behaviors around food. It can also limit variety because it's just easier to eat the same trackable foods over and over.
So it really isn't a one-size-fits-all solution, and there might be situations where it's actually not a good idea.
Precisely. Macro tracking is not for everyone. It's generally not recommended for individuals with a history of eating disorders, as the intense focus on numbers can be triggering. Also, for certain conditions, like diabetes managed with insulin, it should only be done under the close guidance of a healthcare professional or registered dietitian. Ultimately, the goal for most people should probably be to develop sustainable, healthy habits, learn to listen to their body's signals, and build a diet around whole, minimally processed foods. Macro tracking can be a tool to learn about portions and balance, but maybe not the lifelong strategy itself. As always, if you're considering significant changes to your diet, especially if you have health concerns, talking to your doctor or a registered dietitian first is always the best bet. Get personalized advice.
That's excellent advice. We've covered so much ground today. The basics of macros, the complex way our bodies use them, the practicalities and pitfalls of tracking, and the big picture of whether it's the right fit. What's the main thing that stands out to you from our conversation?
I think it's about bridging the gap, moving from just knowing nutrition facts like protein builds muscle to understanding how that happens and what it means for your energy, your fullness, whether you choose to track macros super strictly or just use this understanding to maybe add a bit more protein to your breakfast or choose whole grains more often. That knowledge empowers you. It helps you fuel your body more effectively, whatever your goals are.
That's a great takeaway. Empowerment through understanding. So here's something for you to think about. Given what we've learned today about how differently our bodies handle protein, carbs, and fats, especially, that thermic effect of protein, how might even a small, deliberate shift in the balance of your usual meals change how you feel, your energy, your hunger throughout the day. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. And just one more thank you to our sponsor, Stonefly. You can find out more about their enterprise storage and data solutions at stonefly.com. Till next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and thanks for listening.